So, all right, guys, we got to get this one right. On three, we're going to say, welcome back to Extraordinary Thoughts for On Their Mind. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to Extraordinary Mind.
And we back.
That'll work right there.
Yeah.
And we back. And we
Yeah.
back. And we back. And we
Y'all did y'all best. And that's all that matters.
Now, before we get started with this episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like this episode, share this podcast, and if you can, do me a favor, head on down to the review section and leave an honest review, because this podcast was dedicated to helping us become a better version of ourselves. And I don't know what that version is, but I know that just like we need a little bit more money, just like we need a little bit more sleep, just like we need a little bit more of anything in life, we deserve to be a little better than what we are right now. What's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcaster with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm your host, Demetrius Thigpen, also known as Meech Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of Extraordinary Thoughts for the Ordinary Mind. All right, so boom, we got a couple of things that we need to address. All right, first things first, I'm tired, boss. Like, I'm tired. I'm jet lagged. I'm travel lagged, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I'm tired, boss. All right, I done been in like 4 different states in a matter of a week. My body is going through it. It's going through it. And I really want to say that I'm prepping for a new project. And I think this is the first time that I mentioned it on the podcast. And I have been dropping little hints on Instagram and stuff like that. But I'm getting prepared to drop my new podcast, the Not So Meritorious Podcast. And the idea behind the Not So Meritorious Podcast, and I'm going to stop you right there real quick, because I bet you heard that name, the Not So Meritorious, and immediately thought of a shitbag. You immediately thought of a shitbag. And if you're thinking that, like, I won't say that you're wrong, because that's probably what was embedded into you. But when you think of the word meritorious, think of it. Like, really think of meritorious. That's probably like the 10% of the Marines around you. You go to a platoon, and it's probably like 1 or 3 Marines in there that's probably like meritorious, right? It's like less than or 10%. Think of the tier system. Tier 1 Marines are 10%, right? So what about the other 90%? Are those like shitbags? Are like the other 90% like not, like, they're just not good Marines? They're good Marines. They're just not the top tier. So when I came up with the idea of the Not So Meritorious Podcast, I really had that in mind. That it's not about being a shitbag, but it's about the not so meritorious Marines, like the other motherfuckers that are dealing with other issues within their lives, like mental health, piss poor leadership, just figuring out, trying to survive the transition between a shitbag into a good leader, or just navigating through the military in general. And I keep throwing around like military terms, because one thing that I did notice when I first started podcasting was that I didn't want this podcast to be military related, which is kind of weird because I'm in the military. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in the military, and I did my best to try to like talk about topics that everybody could relate to. But and I did that with the idea that, like, if civilians listen to it, they will understand it. Now, I do have a couple of civilian listeners, but once again, that 90% of my listenership is fucking military. So when I came up with this podcast, I really wanted to be true to the military half of me. So with that being said, the podcast will be dropping soon. I'm already recording episodes, and I look forward to people just like supporting it and just listening to it. It's definitely a different take from this podcast itself. And I'm not saying that this podcast is going to stop, I'm going to stop this podcast, but I am definitely starting a new chapter that I can't wait for everyone to listen to, essentially. But anyways, back to Extraordinary Thoughts. So I've had the luxury of, just like what I mentioned earlier, I had the luxury of being a shitbag Marine, and I survived the transition into becoming the leader that I am now, the Marine that I am now. And I will say that I am like a pretty good Marine. Like, I'm pretty fucking solid. You see what I'm saying? Like, even though I'm starting a podcast called the Not So Meritorious Podcast, I've actually been on a lot of meritorious boards. But I bring that up because there's a different viewpoint when you're at your lowest point and at your highest point. And a lot of people, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's so easy to say, like, look what I've overcome, and you could be just like me if you do X, Y, and Z. But do we really remember where we were at back then? You know what I mean? Like, do we really remember it? Like, if this was a test, do we still have those notes to be able to review? Or will we have to, like, recreate the entire fucking, like, study guide again? You know what I mean? So I've actually had the luxury to experience this in 2 points in my career. One, when I was a Junior Marine, and then when I was a staff NCO. And I bring that up, and this has got to be the most transparent I've ever been, is that it's definitely a different experience when you're a Stellar Marine and then you start to go through that shitbag storm again. Or let me rephrase that not so stellar storm. So here I am getting into my new unit, and here I'm around top tier performers, bro. I'm talking about, these are like the top fucking Marines. Like, you know, when I say like the top 10%, I'm in a room full of the top 10% in the Marine Corps. Like, no bullshit. And sometimes it definitely gets discouraging. You know what I mean? Like, it really gets discouraging when you're around like these top performers. And I really want to say this real quick, is that you gotta be patient with yourself. You gotta be patient with yourself, and you also gotta be understanding with yourself. And you can't forget who you are. You see what I'm saying? You can't forget why you're there. You can't forget, let me rephrase that. You can't forget the accolades that got you to these moments right here. And I bring that up because when you're around like these top performers, you tend to forget why you're up there too. And it definitely comes up when you feel like you're not performing at that level. You know what I mean? Like, when you're not performing at the level in which they're performing at, you start to look at yourself in a different light. Like, you start to lose confidence in yourself. You start to, your self-esteem, like the reserves, they start to go down. And it becomes very, very, very frustrating. You become frustrated with yourself. So I bring that up because there was a moment where we were doing drills, and I'm new to the area, bro. I'm just new to the fucking area. And I'm not hitting the mark. You see what I'm saying? I'm fucking up on drills, and I sit right across from my boss. And my boss and me are having a conversation. And as we're having a conversation, you know, I'm frustrated with myself. And I really want to just take a moment real quick and just tell somebody that the first step to making progress is having frustration with yourself. You see what I'm saying? Like, you frustrated with your performance. A lot of motherfuckers go through their entire life and don't realize that they're the fucking problem. And when they don't realize that they're the fucking problem, they can't make the necessary adjustments, you see what I'm saying, to fix the problem, because they can't see that they're the fucking problem. So when you're frustrated with yourself, it's not like a self-hate type of thing. You just don't like your performance right now. You see what I'm saying? Because you know that you're capable of more. You feel me? Like, you know that you can do fucking more, bro. But you frustrated because you're not missing the mark. So me and my boss, we having a conversation, you feel me? And he tells me like, hey, what the fuck's going on? Like, you fucked up on this drill. Top's mad at you, X, Y, and Z. And I just lay it out, bro. Like, look, man, like, I know everybody mad, but I'm trying. You feel me? Like, I'm trying. I'm doing my best. All right? I'm really trying to get this shit, man. Like, when I said that, right, I thought that, you know, he would understand. I thought that he would understand. Now, I'm going to just go ahead and just take a pause real quick, because there's a big difference between emotional answers and logical answers. So in this moment right here, I gave him an emotional answer to the situation. He's about to give me a logical answer. And this motherfucker looked me dead in my face, right? He looked me dead in my face. And he was like, yeah, I get that you're trying, but trying is not doing. Like, you're still fucking up on the drills. Like, I understand that you're trying. You see what I'm saying? Like, I understand that you're trying. But at the same time, them drills still getting fucked up. So how long is this trying shit going to be? Because right now, we're getting fucked. And I need you to start doing. Bro, when I tell you I was hot, boy, I was fucking hot, man. Because it's like, I'm spilling my heart out to you, and here you are with the logical fucking shield and sword about to block the bullshit and then turn around and give me a better answer. But once I took a step back, I realized that the answer that he gave me was actually an answer that I needed to hear. Although it wasn't the answer that I wanted to hear, it was definitely the answer that I needed to hear. And I bring that up real quick because a lot of times, and this is the thing, is that a lot of us, we will rather hear the answer that we want to hear, vice the answer that we need to hear. Like you could spill your heart and tell somebody your problem, but if they don't give you the answer that you want to hear, you're not trying to hear that shit. Like a lot of us have gotten logical answers, but because the logical answer doesn't cater to our fucking feelings, we don't want to fucking hear it. You see what I'm saying? And the reason why we ain't making no progress in the best change for us is because we're still searching for the emotional answer. You know, the answer that's going to play into our emotions and make us feel good. But sometimes the best thing for you doesn't have to fucking boost your self-esteem. Like the best thing for you doesn't have to cater to your fucking emotions. Like the best thing for you doesn't have to be your best fucking friend. It could literally just be the answer right there, plain and simple. So when he told me that, yeah, it took a moment for me to digest that. But the moment that I digested it, I realized that trying isn't doing. Like trying isn't doing. Now, for those who don't understand what I'm trying to say is that trying is not the same as doing. You either do something or you don't. When we say we are trying, we don't have to do anything. It only provides us with an excuse for why we couldn't accomplish the outcome we desired. And a lot of times, like, you know, motherfuckers say that they're trying. You feel me? Like, oh, I'm trying to get clean. You know, I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to find love. I'm trying to get my life together. I'm trying to make a better change for myself. Now, good on you. You feel me? Like, good on you for admitting, or let me rephrase that, initiating the steps in the right direction. You feel me? Like, good on you for that. But you also got to take into consideration that everybody is saying that they're trying to do better. But just because they're saying that they're trying to do something doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually doing what they're saying that they're going to do. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't mean that they're actually making the steps in the right direction. They're just fucking saying that they're trying so somebody can get off their fucking case. That's really it. And a lot of times, like, you come across, like, a lot of leadership that even though you're saying that they're trying, you know how many times they done heard a motherfucker say that they trying? Fuck, man. Like, shit, growing up, like, my damn father was an alcoholic. You know how many times that motherfucker tried to get clean? You feel me? You know how many times he tried to kick the bottle? And you know how many times I saw him? Or I can count on my hand. Think about, like, them bad relationships. You know how many times a motherfucker said, like, he was trying to do right? You know how many times she said she was trying to do right? Think about it. Did she really do right, though? How many motherfucking Dream Marines do we have that say that they trying to do good, but then turn around and do the exact same thing? So when somebody tell you, like, you know, yeah, they're trying, you know, good on you for trying. But at the same time, we still have to have a little bit, like, realism with it. You feel me? Like, there goes the logic behind it, is that trying isn't doing. You're trying, but you're not putting up any results. And I kind of need results right now. You're trying, but that doesn't mean that we're going to get out of our situation. You could try all you want, but until you start to do it, it means nothing. And once again, a lot of people don't want to hear that. And I bring that up not to discourage anybody that's trying to lose weight, that's trying to get their money right, that's trying to be a better person. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just trying to bring up, what I am trying to do is just bring a little clarity towards that. Is that, yeah, you could tell a motherfucker all you want that you try, but until you start to put up results, like until you start to put up like some real fucking results, it means nothing. You know, and you have to come into that with this idea that just because I'm trying, that does not mean that my situation is going to change. And what I mean by that is that until I start to put up results, my situation isn't going to change. Until I can say that I'm trying to lose weight, but until I start dropping pounds, I'm not losing weight. I can be saying that I'm trying to create streams of revenue and try to make money, but until I earn a fucking dollar, I'm not making any money. I can say all I want that I'm trying to do better on these drills, but until I do better on one of them fucking drills, it means nothing. And it's so easy to get discouraged when you don't see results. It's so easy to get discouraged and you keep telling yourself that you're trying. So I bring that up for two things real quick. Is that trying is the journey. Until you get to a checkpoint, you're still trying to get there. Until you start to put up some type of results, you're still trying. And with that, like, you got to have like a little bit patience with yourself. You can't ask somebody else to have patience with you. I'm going to just be 100%. You can't ask somebody else to have patience with you. But you have to have patience with yourself because this is a frustrating process. You trying is a very frustrating process. It's frustrating for everybody around you because they want you to do better. You want to do better, but you're trying. So with that being said, as we come into this Monday, understand that trying is not doing, but there's no harm in saying that you're trying as long as that you have intention to do better. All right. Like there's no harm in saying that you're trying, but you better have intention to do better. Because I'm going to tell you right now, when you tell a motherfucker that you're trying, that don't mean shit until they fucking see results. Hell, it shouldn't mean anything to you until you see some fucking results. You feel me? And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Stay tuned Mondays and Fridays. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Meech Speaks. Once again, that's Meech Speaks. Meech is spelled M-E-E-C-H. Don't forget to share this podcast, subscribe to this podcast, follow this podcast, pass this podcast to somebody, because this podcast was dedicated to helping everyone become a better version of themselves, even though I don't know what that type of version is. I just know that you can be better. Lastly, don't forget to grab your copy of The Extraordinary Thought from the Ordinary Mind, available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. I think there's an electrical copy. You know what it is. Stay hungry, stay motivated. I'm out.